All right, welcome everybody. So we have now gotten into the DVWA after we built that Docker and everything over on port 80. All right, my IP address 172.19.02. Now we're in here. We're going to go ahead. And we just learned how to brute force with Hydra. You can do this with Hydra. However, the Hydra syntax for brute forcing is it gets pretty long. It gets kind of confusing, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a tool called FFUF. All right, so if I use FFUF, okay, we can go ahead and let me go ahead and clear out that one. We can do FFUF, and we're going to do attack U, and we're going to give it the IP address, right? So first thing we got to do is give it the location, the URL, excuse me. So we're going to give it that URL, and then we have to give it a word list. So you'll notice that I created two word lists. I have a cat users.txt and cat pass.txt. All right, this is just to make everything go a little bit faster for us, right? But I have these two word lists right here. And from here, what we can do is we can go ahead and tell it that we want to attack something with FFUF and actually fuzz that location, right? So first thing I need to do is I need to give it the username and also the password. But we don't see anywhere up here where we can actually put a username and password, right? So let's go ahead and just try something real quick. We'll say test. We'll enter there. And we can now see in the URL, we have a username and password location. So let's go ahead and grab that URL. So we'll go ahead and FFUF attack U. We'll throw that into there. We're going to throw quotation marks around it. And let's say that we know that the username is admin, right? So we'll say, hey, username is admin. Password, we want to fuzz. So we're going to say fuzz. Okay. Now we need to give it a word list. What do we want to fuzz this password field with? Right, we need a word list for that. So we can go ahead and use our pass.txt word list. And now, because we already logged in, we need to relay it cookies. So if I were to do a FFUF attack help, we can see that I can actually pass in, and then we'll actually just grep for it, cookie data. Okay, so I can do attack B, and I can actually give it cookie data. Because we're already logged in, we need to get to this location. We're not going to be able to get to this location if we don't log in, and we're going to be able to log in through our cookie data that we already have. So we can say attack B, and let's go ahead and grab our cookie data from over here. We'll do an F12. And we have a PHP session ID and a security. So let's go ahead and grab that PHP ses ID. So we can say attack B. We'll go ahead and do a quick PHP ses ID equals, and we'll go ahead and drop that in there. And then we had security, right? Equals, and we're on low. And that should be the cookies that I pass across. We have our word list, and we have our URL. Let's go ahead and give that a try. And we can see that it kind of comes through, and we don't really know what it's saying, right? We can see that the size is different. We can see that these words are different, the amount of words that are in it. So what we want to do is we want to filter this. Okay, so let's go ahead and filter this with attack AC, and then we'll hit enter again. Oh, and then there we go. Okay, we see that password is most likely something that we could use on this fuzz location, which would mean that username is admin and password would be password. Let's go and give that a quick try. And it says welcome to this password protected area admin. So that does work. All right, now let's say we knew, for instance, the password, but we don't know the username. So let's go ahead and do password over here. And then we'll take this username and we'll say fuzz this, right? And we can go ahead and we can change this pass.txt to users.txt if we want to, right? Or user.txt. Hit enter. And we can see that admin is most likely something that's different within this part like right here for this guy up here, right? So we can say admin and then password. So all we're doing, all FFUF is doing is just looking at what is different with this auto filter. Okay, if we didn't auto filter it, like I said, we would get all this information. But what if we didn't want, what if auto filtering wasn't giving us anything and we knew that we had something correct? Let's try like attack FS because we see that all these sizes are 4572, right? Let's try 4572. So now we're filtering out that size. All right, let's go ahead and filter out, I don't know, the words. We see that 159. So we say attack FW 159. And we get admin again because the amount of words on the page is different. So now we can go ahead and lastly, we just do attack AC for auto filtering. Now lastly, let's say we don't know the username or the password and we're just going to try and just crush this thing, right? Our goal is to, have them block our IP address. So we do our fuzz, and what we're going to do is we're going to say fuzz1 and then fuzz2. And we're going to do a user.text, and we're going to name that fuzz1. All right, then we're going to do attack W, pass.text, and we're going to name that fuzz2. All right, so fuzz1 goes along obviously with fuzz1 over here, which is user.text, and fuzz2 goes along with fuzz2 over here, which is user.text or pass.text, right? So we hit enter, and we can see that it found that admin and password came back with a different size or words or lines or whatever. It came back with something different than the rest of them did, right? So we know that fuzz1 location, which was our username location, right, is admin, and we know that our fuzz2 location is password. So now we can say that, hey, it is admin and password to log in, right? Let's go ahead and try this with something a little bit larger than just users.text though. Let's go ahead and try this with something. You'll see how long this can take. Let's go ahead and try this with user share seclist usernames x8o 10 million usernames.text, and then a password list, and we'll say fuzz1, and we'll say password list of user share word list rocky.text, that'll be fuzz2. Now this is going to take a very long time, so I'm just going to go ahead and just let this run, and we'll get back to you all whenever it finishes. So you all may have noticed that this is not going to finish anytime soon, right? I actually went ahead and turned off that attack AC, and we can see that it goes through all the users' names that in one password, and then it's going to reset and do that again. So this is going to take, like I said, an extremely long time to actually do, and we have this many username and passwords to go through. Now let's go ahead and just try it if we know a username, right? So we'll say, hey, we at least know that there's a user admin on here, right? So we'll say admin. We'll go ahead and get rid of this first word list. I'm sure you all noticed how long that was going to take. I don't even want to take a wild guess at how long, forever. And we'll just say fuzz2. Now I did already have this name fuzz2, so we should be good with that. But we can see it's kind of coming through. It's kind of going a little bit crazy, right? So now we can see this a little bit better where we do our attack, let's say FW159. Because now we're going to filter out all words that are 159. And somewhere in this rocky.text is password, and it is. There we go. You saw how fast everything came down. We weren't going to be able to keep up with that. We would not have noticed, right? And once we get that, we can go ahead and stop it. We can see that, yep, that does work. Okay? So we know that our username is password. Wherever you go to stop it, it'll usually give you whatever it stopped on. But we see that our password is password. We go ahead and do whatever we want. And then if you want to, you can use that x8o username list there. And you could say, hey, password's password, and then try to spray all those. So hopefully you all learned something. Hopefully you learned something about FFUF. I know the very first time that I saw you could fuzz 2 locations, and you could just keep doing that. You fuzz more than those 2. You do a fuzz 3, fuzz 4, fuzz 5. I thought that was pretty awesome the very first time that I learned that. But, yep, I'll talk to you all later. You all have a good one.